This is Cross Culture Podcast with Belle Tyndall and Lauren Windle,
where we talk pop culture and current affairs from a Christian perspective. Okay, we're back. It's Cross Culture Podcast. This time, though, we're switching things up a bit after a suggestion very early on from producer Chris. We are doing a whole episode on conspiracy theories.
I'm so excited.
I'm so excited. How many rabbit holes did you fall down this week?
Too many. And do you know what? It was the wrong week for it as well. I had so much week to do and I just couldn't get out of these rabbit holes.
I know. Do you know, the thing about conspiracy theories, right, is if you want to investigate them, you've got to get into parts of the internet that I never usually go on. I actually never really watch stuff on YouTube unless I've specifically searched for a specific thing. And I don't really do like the forums like Reddit and stuff like that. And I've been all over them this week.
You've got to go deep. No, I'm not usually a Reddit girly, but this week I've gone deep.
Girly.
Yeah, a Reddit girly. But this week I am. And I fear I'll never get out of it. I fear it'll be where I go to think about everything.
Imagine cross culture. This is actually just the start of like the wildest conspiracy theory podcast. And we just keep going and going and going.
It's possible.
And then we're like turning up at like very niche, like conspiracy theory conferences and speaking for other flat earthers.
Can you imagine? How do you think that would save our careers?
We wouldn't need our old careers once we had found the truth.
No, you're right. That's the thing, because our old careers are nothing but facade.
Well, no, we've just been playing to the man.
Exactly.
And now that we know, absolutely no need. Okay, let me read out to you some of the weirdest conspiracy theories that I have found on my journey. And I tell you what, just gut reaction out of 10. Tell me how feasible you think it is, right?
Okay, I like this game. Okay, go.
Aliens built the pyramids.
Ooh,
we've heard that before.
We've heard it before. Not convinced. 2 out of 10.
2 out of 10. Okay. Aladdin, right, in the film Aladdin, says, good teenagers, take off your clothes when he's singing, when he's being attacked by Raja. But he actually, according to Disney, is saying, good kitty, just take off and go. But the conspiracy is that he's telling teenagers to take their clothes off. True. What do you think out of 10?
No, 1 out of 10. It's like that thing that Peter Kay does, and he like specifically tells you the wrong lyric and then you can't not hear it. That's just one of those.
That is so funny when he does that.
Yeah, it's really great.
Although that conspiracy theory is so prevalent that when they put Aladdin on Disney Plus, they took that line out of the film. Yeah.
No way.
To stop the speculation. So that's a bit wild, isn't it?
That is wild.
Okay, what do we think about this one then? And I reckon Michael Jackson's going to come up again later in this as well.
He might do.
The Illuminati killed Michael Jackson because he refused to put subliminal Illuminati messages in his songs.
Right, this is the highest so far. I'm giving it a 5. This is like linked that to the whole, like, if you play Beyonce backwards, she says Hail Satan, stuff like that. Like,
no, surely not Beyonce.
No, it's not. That. Yeah, it's not true. I have actually tried it. Okay. It's not true, but it's of that ilk. Yeah.
Okay. What about, and this one is truly upsetting to a large number of the men in my life, the Roman Empire wasn't real.
No, surely not. So I asked my boyfriend the classic Roman Empire question, and I think he said something akin to once an hour.
It's wild, isn't it? Do you know what my Roman Empire is?
Oh, go on.
Victorian London murders.
Ah, okay.
I'm like proper into not Jack the Ripper, but his 5 victims, who, by the way, were not prostitutes. 2 of them had previously worked in prostitution, but they were not prostitutes. They were all addicts, though, just so you know. Yeah. So, yeah, I think a lot about Victorian London.
Okay, cool.
And the crime associated.
That's, fair enough. I like that because that's more niche than the Roman Empire.
Yeah. Come on, guys, step
Roman
up.
Empire's boring. But I do think it did exist, so...
Okay, what about this one? This one is from, this one's Christian. So this is good. It's bringing a bit of the old faith into it. Monster energy drinks worship Satan because it says unleash the beast on the can.
Yes, this has unlocked such a memory. Did you ever watch that video of that woman who's explaining this? Oh my goodness. This has unlocked such a memory. That video used to be one of my favorite videos. She's at like this convention and she's got a monster can with her and she's just explaining it, how the M is actually 666, blah, blah, blah. And then right at the end, she says this line. She's like a proper deep state American lady. And she just goes like, bottoms up, and the devil laughs.
Wait, so did that sort of go
Oh,
viral among you and your gal pals when you were at school or something?
so
I've literally never
viral.
heard this.
Oh my goodness, yeah. And there's a book called Bottoms Up and the Devil Laughs, which is like, yeah, there really is, which is like an investigation into the American deep state. It's so good.
Wow. Okay, I can't believe I
Love
missed
that
out on that
conspiracy.
little bit of subculture.
Oh, I love it. I don't think it's
Okay.
true, but I love it.
What about birdsaren'treal.com, where people gather to discuss the fact that after 9/11, all the birds in the world died somehow, and now every bird is just a flying surveillance camera?
No, my parents' cat has brought in dead birds and there was no camera in them.
No mechanics inside at all. Nothing.
No.
No
And I, because
wiring.
I hate to be graphic, but my cat really did a number on these birds. So if there was wiring inside, it would have been visible.
Okay, maybe it's just American birds then, because that did come
Probably.
from America. So maybe the British ones are still intact. Okay, final one of these weird and wonderful ones, right?
Yeah.
Larry Truthers. Any
Yeah.
ideas? You know what that
Yeah.
is? I
I
thought you
I
might.
I as a teenager actually fully gave myself over to this one.
Okay, so
I
this is
really
the
did.
idea that actually Louis Tomlin and Harry Styles are in a relationship from One Direction. And then the relationship name is Larry, the L from Louis and the Ari from
Ari from
Harry. It's
Harry.
pretty sophisticated stuff. So I just wanted to make sure that you were following. And anyway, so this subgroup became convinced that Larry, the relationship between Harry and Louis, was real. They were dating, but the label forced them to keep their relationship secret to maintain mass market appeal.
Mm.
And even going as far as to hire actresses to play their fake girlfriends.
I fully gave myself over to this. I remember I had a couple of friends who were like, "Have you heard what's really going on?" And
I
yeah,
love
in
that.
school, I was
Sitting
in
down
school.
like, listen, Belle, here's the tea.
Almost literally that. And we were in school and it was the days of Tumblr. And
Okay, yeah.
honestly, all you need to see is like five GIFs of like them secretly touching each other, or, they've been taken totally out of context, or these
Yeah.
little compilations of them having secret glances. And I was
Mm.
like, oh, this is probably real. Yeah,
Yeah.
sure, let's go for this.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I can't remember what it was, but Harry Styles got like a tattoo that seemed to signify to that it was
Oh.
real. I don't think that anymore, but at the time I was pretty convinced, I can't lie.
Do you think the label went a bit far then when one of the actresses they hired got pregnant by Louis and they created life in order to do this big elaborate cover
Yeah.
up and to have a beard for Louis?
It's quite thorough, isn't it?
It's very,
It's quite thorough.
they are
Unethical,
committed.
one could argue. That would be unethical. Oh dear, but I
There
fully
you
gave over to
go.
that. Is there any? Because the only other one, and I'm not suspicious of the moon landing. I believe it happened.
Okay.
I
Okay.
believe it happened. But the people who are suspicious throw up a valid question,
Oh,
which
yeah.
is simply, if we went to the moon, why have we never been able to do it again? Why have we never achieved it since?
Wait, are you being serious?
I think so.
People go regularly to the moon.
Do they?
I'm
No,
pretty
I don't think
sure.
they do. This is what I thought, and then
But
I
also
Googled
it's
it,
like,
and
but
they
it's like,
don't.
what's the point? They've done it and there's so much space. That's like being like, oh, well, if you can go to Swansea, why wouldn't you go again? Maybe you want to go somewhere else, Belle.
You would never want to go to Swansea twice. And I can say that because,
Maybe there are other places in Wales to explore once you've
yeah,
nailed
fair
Swansea.
enough. But I think I assumed because I did the same, and I assumed, oh, hold on, we have been in December 1972.
I'm pretty sure we have. Most recent time someone landed on the moon. Okay, Apollo 17,
Yeah.
72.
Okay,
Guess
we've been
maybe
once
they're
more.
just like completed it, mate. It
Yeah,
costs
maybe
so
it's a
much
bit
money to
dull.
send people into space. Like, what are we doing? We know what the moon is. We've jumped around. We've taken the big step for mankind. We're done.
Consider it done. All
Yeah.
right, fair enough.
But what you've said though does bring me on to something.
Please.
Sometimes you hear this stuff, and on the surface, it's all a bit crazy. And then you
Mm,
listen to some of the reasoning, and you're like, all right, I'm listening.
I know. That's exactly what happens.
that is what happens. Is there a conspiracy theory that you do actually believe?
Now, no, I don't think that there is. The Harry Styles and Louis one, I was like, yeah, that's probably true. But now,
That was a
no,
big
I
one.
don't. I don't think there is one that I subscribe to. I think I'm too much of a bandwagon girl. You know,
Mm,
like I think I'm
hmm
just too gullible. Tell me something and I'll believe it. The ones I come
mm,
closest to believing tend to be the murder ones. So, of course, if we go into some of the more serious ones,
mm.
which include Princess Diana's death and also JFK's assassination, I would say the murder ones are the closest I would come to being like, well, we'll never really know. You know what I mean?
Mm. Yeah,
Whereas some of the other serious ones, 9/11, that it didn't really happen, or if it did happen, it was
yeah,
arranged by people, within the government, etc.
yeah.
Climate change, COVID-19 and 5G connection, government conspiracies, and also some of the deaths, tragic deaths like Princess Diana's death or JFK's assassination, these
Mm.
widely held ones. I don't think any of them. Oh, the shape of the earth, obviously.
I feel like these are a bit less enchanting though.
They really are.
I don't know. I totally believe that climate change is real. I believe the Earth is round. I
Mm,
don't know. I'm sort of saying this as if like, hey, just to sort of plant my flag in the ground
yeah,
here. Like I think
just for people to
most
know.
most people listening will be on board with those things. So when it comes to like the wider government ones, like did the government or the sort of like rulers of this earth
Mm,
undercover rulers of this earth do COVID or other government things or even club together to make 9/11 happen, right? My ex-partner worked in government, and I can say without a shadow of a doubt that the UK government is nowhere near slick enough to pull something like that off. It
okay, that's
is
good to know.
just, there is no way that there is
Mm,
some sort of coordinated thing that has happened at the highest levels that has not gotten out, that everyone, including the media, are like agreeing to keep secret. Like it is a shambles in there, you know?
mm,
Like absolutely anything, people take the opportunity to tell people. No one keeps secrets. Everyone's out for themselves. If there's an opportunity to spill something to the world, so I mean, it would have to be like two people. Like, say Harry Potter was real and the highest sort of the cabinet knew,
mm.
like, because they say sometimes in Harry Potter, like, right, I've told the Muggle Prime Minister. Absolutely not. Boris Johnson would have let that slip ages ago, you
You're
know?
right. Yeah, because it's too leak. I feel like humans were just too leaky of ships.
Yeah.
Like we just can't keep secrets. We can't. No, you're right. No one, absolutely no one, is keeping the secret that the Earth is actually flat.
No one kept the secret that they had a couple of bottles of wine during COVID
Exactly.
after a Friday night. No one is gonna, if there had been a huge plot to do 9/11 or whatever, or some British
Mm,
equivalent to coordinate the assassination of Diana, it is just the world is not a James Bond movie. It
mm.
is more like Chucklevision or Mr. Bean, you know?
Yeah, and it
And
must be
that's it.
absolutely exhausting. I was picked up by a lovely, and he was a lovely AA guy earlier this year who is a full-on conspiracy theorist. And we had a
Okay.
long drive together where he told me all of them. And I just left that car being like, your life must be exhausting.
It's so tiring to
Truly
question
tiring.
everything, to second guess
Everything.
everything. Do you know
Yeah.
what? I think though, and I've been thinking quite a lot about this,
Mm,
because I've had a few friends, and I've got to say, my friends who are most invested in conspiracy theories tend to have spent some time in America. And I do think that there is overlap between Christianity and American Christianity. And there's this whole sort of, I don't want to buy into stereotypes, but there is a subset of people in the States who are a bit fundamentalist, very patriotic, support Trump and listen to Joe Rogan, and they identify as Christian, and they've got this whole, you just never quite know what's really going on. I think at the heart of that is a very real, very human quest for truth, you
mm,
know? And we're starved of truth, and we are built to listen to the truth of our creator, of our creation, of his creation, right? And it's very, and obviously there's, and we're not going to get into, I mean, unless you've got some real insight that you feel you can bring. I certainly don't feel I can, about when it comes to like, how can you trust the Bible? And there are phenomenal books written by apologetics. Amy Orr Ewing's great on that. And so, and many other people on whether or not you can trust the Bible and the extent to which it's divine and ordained
Yep.
and timeless truth, right? But what's for sure is that there is, as far as I'm concerned, as far as I believe, Christ ordained fundamental truth that will not change regardless of what the earth is. And I think that where we feel divorced from it and uncertain of what it is, we are battling and searching for truth in
Mm.
everything.
Mm. Yeah, that's really interesting. Francis Collins, who I mentioned in the episode last week, his book, he talks about like levels of truth and how we've kind
Okay.
of lost our access to them because we've lost, yeah, so it's like truth, just fundamental truth, then there's speculation, then there's objective truth, then there's opinion. And we've
Mm,
lost our ability to really untangle those four types of fact from each other. And also,
mm.
we've lost our ability to go towards sources with any kind of wisdom. So, like, how do we
Yeah.
choose who we trust, whose voice we trust, whose intellect we trust, whose story we trust? Do we
Mm.
trust the government or do we trust this Reddit user? Like, how do we? And he's saying that over the past sort of 10 plus years, we've almost completely lost our wisdom in how to decide who and why to trust, which is really interesting. It's the most postmodern thing ever, I think, conspiracy theories. Although, weirdly, it's kind of not, because, like you say, they're looking for truth. Like
Yeah.
this thing is true, even if everyone's lying about it. It
I
still
think
exists.
what has exacerbated the situation now is that we have so much more access to what different people think is
Too
true.
much. Too
Yeah.
much.
Like with before the internet, you had your newspapers. There would have been people around who said, "Oh, I don't know about that. Oh, I wonder if
Mm,
that's true." And there would have been opposing reporting in some of the newspapers as well. And that's fine. I can handle that. I can handle bias in the media,
yeah.
when it's only a couple of sources. But these days you can literally find someone who believes, like vehemently believes anything. I could make something up and I could find someone to go, "Yep, I put my money on that," because
Yes.
the world's just a bit weird and we've got too much information. And
Way too much. Way more than our brains were
I
designed to
tell you,
handle.
I tell you what threw me though, all through school and even my undergrad university, right? When it came to choices for subjects, I did science, which meant that even quite early, you're reading peer-reviewed scientific papers, maybe not reading the
Mm,
sort of source material, but you're referring to them constantly when you're, writing things or doing tests or, whatever. So anyone who picks science subjects, you get used to this idea that peer-reviewed research is the reliable system, right? Then I did my master's, and that requires a bit of a more, I mean, you've got a PhD, you know how it kicks up at each stage. You're no longer
mm,
just good enough just to go, here's the paper, therefore
yeah.
that is true.
Yeah.
So then every like Wednesday evening after we did classes, a PhD student sat back with us. We brought papers and he just picked them apart. And he'd be like, okay, yes, this is past peer review, but in what journal was it published? How reputable is that? How we get, is that a
Mm,
journal that is sufficiently robust for you to take this fact? How many people have cited this since it was used? That's a really good way of working out. Then
yeah.
he goes, right, let's talk through the statistical significance. Let's talk through how they found their sample for this. Let's talk through the biases that they had. Have we checked who funded this? And so really robust picking apart these papers, and virtually none of them really stood up. Virtually none really stood up to the
Mm,
papers that were published in something like the Lancet, which is the most prestigious journal, absolutely did stand up to it. But you start to question, you see research, you see that it has been published in a journal, and you go, that's good enough for me. Actually, when it comes to that sort of expertise, people, when you get to those higher levels, people are going, that's not good enough for you. That should not be good enough for you. And
Yeah.
often what you find as well is that the results are true and valid, but the conclusions that are drawn from them are not.
That's
That is
interesting.
stressful, you know?
Yeah. And I
You
guess
can't
this
take
is,
anything as read.
yeah, and I guess this is only going to get more and more a part of our lives with AI. And, you have like BBC
Oh,
Verify now, and you have all this false information.
mm.
You have social medias when you flicking through and it says, just so you know, some of this is
Mm.
probably includes false information, but then people aren't trusting the false information banners that come up. It's like, no, no, I actually trust this banner
They're a
less.
conspiracy theory
They
in
in
themselves.
themselves
Like,
are a
oh,
conspiracy
they're
theory.
trying to shut us down and tell us not to believe this stuff. Yeah.
Exactly that. There's a lot, and I think there are books. I would actually be really intrigued to read one because there are whole books about the psychology of conspiracy theories and how people
Mm.
absolutely fall into this black
Hmm.
hole of distrust. And yeah, speaking
Yeah.
of,
Yeah. Wait, okay. So I have picked out one that I thought was very interesting, and I just want to take you on a journey with it, right?
oh, I'd
And
love it.
yeah, okay. So, producer Chris, another shout out for him today, flagged up that people are saying that Pastor Joyce is actually Elvis Presley. Now, I just read the headline and I thought, I'm absolutely jumping on that. What on earth, what in the Christian fundamentalist is going on here? You know, I'm like, I'm going to dig deep into this. I'm not going to lie. I thought they were talking about Joyce Mayer, who is
Oh, so did I.
the, yeah, they're not. I
Fair enough.
was like, how on earth can they think that this lovely, spirit-filled
Mm.
preacher and author is Elvis Presley? Look at her. You know, she's obviously not. No, no, no. So they're talking about Pastor Bob Joyce from Arkansas, right?
Nice. Okay.
I'm pretty sure it's Arkansas, as I said that. And then I also have to remind myself not to pronounce it Arkansas because that's
Arkansas.
I say it like that in my head,
Yeah.
so I spell it properly,
Yeah.
but I rarely say it out loud. So he's this pastor who is constantly flooded with messages and social media. It is like a bit of a bane of his life with people going, yeah, but you are Elvis Presley, aren't you? Right. And that is really annoying. And if you look him up, you can kind of see it. And there's quite a few like TikTok videos where they pick apart like Elvis Presley's teeth versus Pastor Joyce's teeth, and
Oh,
stuff like
wow.
that.
Okay.
And so like people have really gone for it. Now, I thought when I realized it wasn't Joyce Mayer and I was like a bit disappointed, I was like, I can do this in no time. I'm going to watch this video. I'm going to do a bit of TikTok digging. I'm going to work it out and then we can just bish bosh bash this. He's obviously not. Number one, he's like quite a few years younger. So if he
Mm.
was Elvis Presley, he'd now have to be early 90s, I think.
Sure.
And this guy is definitely like 70. I mean, maybe look, if you're Elvis, you've got the money to buy some pretty hefty face creams.
Ageless.
Yeah. So maybe it's Botox. Maybe he's just not Elvis, is what is
Oh, it's a
is what I've
50-50.
been. Hard to say for sure,
Yeah.
right? So I was like, oh, come on, give the guy a break. Then, okay, then. And even I saw in one of his sermons, he like says, like, hey, look, I'm not pretending to be anyone. I'm not. I'm just Pastor Bob Joyce. Like he's had to address
Oh,
it to that level.
fancy having to live your life saying, I'm not Elvis. I know what you're
Yeah.
all thinking.
But I'm not
I'm
Elvis.
not
Yeah.
Elvis. Now,
Okay. Now I feel like I've got you where I want you. You think this is ridiculous. You think this is so silly. You think, what a poor, poor guy. Now I'm
yeah.
going to tell you a few more things
Okay, great.
that I think actually throw a bit of a cat amongst the pigeons. First thing I came across is Pastor Joyce singing a song to his wife. I just can't help falling in love with you on the piano. He sounds like Elvis,
Well,
okay?
why did he do
But
that? He's
why
just
is he
asking.
entertaining it?
Yeah,
Why is
come on
he
now.
that is fuel to the fire, right?
He's got no one to blame but himself there.
Got no one to blame for himself. Next thing I want to tell you is that
Mm.
last year in 2023, Pastor Joyce attended Lisa Marie Presley's funeral. Why?
Hmm.
Okay, so I assume there's some sort of connection between them, that they know each other in some way. He hasn't just turned up like, "Hey, I'm the I'm the
Yeah.
reported." Lee, your dad, I'm just going to be here. But he did go to the funeral. That is stated as fact on the internet, not by BBC verified. But that seems to be true. I tell you what else seems to be true, but I cannot say for certain. And I've really tried to corroborate this. I think it's probably not true,
Mm.
but the internet tells me that Pastor Joyce's wife dated Elvis when they were much younger.
No. Okay, interesting.
So when I Google it, also the internet tells me that Pastor Joyce's sons have benefited from the Elvis estate in some way. This, though, I cannot corroborate that. Either of those two facts. I
Oh,
cannot be sure that that's true.
that would be so fun. Yeah, if it turns
Okay.
out that somehow they were being put through like university
Yeah. By their
by the
dad
Elvis
slash
estate.
Elvis. It gets like, okay, someone could have easily just been like, I know what will wind these people up and just stuck that on Reddit and then just watch the chips fall where they fall, right? But you can see why people think that this has got potential because, okay, fine, he looks younger, but he has got an absolute fortune in royalties. He could just, he could have really Botoxed himself up or surgery or whatever. Then you've got the fact that he could have died in inverted commas and then gone back to, and then him and his love just started a life together as Pastor Joyce. Then they had kids who have continued to benefit from the estate. Just to clarify, I don't think it's true,
Mm,
but I kind of enjoyed it.
it's got legs. Is that
It's
what you're
got
saying?
legs. It's got legs. It's not as mental as it initially came across, I'd say.
Fair enough.
You know,
I
something tricky is going on here.
something tricky. Okay. Yeah, I like that. Do you want to have my version of my own conspiracy
Yeah, I
black
want to hear
hole?
your one. Take me on the journey.
Yeah. So I would like to introduce you and our dear listeners to the Avril Lavigne replacement theory. Have you heard of this?
Yeah, I got quite into it maybe like, was it about 2 years ago when it really kicked off? A couple of years ago?
Well, here's the thing, it's been going since 2003.
Oh, then I'm late to the party.
We are all late to the party. So let's all take ourselves back to 2003.
Yeah.
What did life look
Okay.
like for you in 2003?
I was just rocking around fancying skater boys.
Oh, bang on trend then. On theme. Excellent. I was 7, so I wasn't there yet. It was more
Oh,
CBBC and S Club 7 and potato
wait, so
waffles for me.
2003, I would have been in my third or fourth year of secondary school. So I was about 14. Yeah, I was. I
Nice.
was
Yeah.
fancying skater
Fancy Skater
boys.
Boys.
It was
Great.
long, cold nights. I can't think of a single other one of her songs.
No, you did really well. Life was complicated.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it actually was complicated. Yeah. And
Yeah.
I had her eyeliner thing.
Oh, yeah. Thick eyeliner,
Mm,
grungy. She was like
yeah.
the anti Britney Spears, wasn't she? Which I think really played into her success. So it's
Mm.
2003, and Avril Lavigne is at the top of her game. She is the queen of culture. She's everything people want to be. And this is where the theory comes in. Here's the theory, right? It's 2003 and she's overwhelmed and she's not coping with her own fame. And she says to her record company, I'm out. I actually don't want to do this anymore. I just want to be a normal 17-year-old Canadian punk chick. All right. I
Yeah.
don't want this. And her teams, to ease pressure, her teams say, right, we found a solution, Avril. Meet your body double, an absolute shocker of a doppelganger, Melissa Vandella. Now, some people say Avril knew her. Some people say she was Avril Lavigne's best friend. Others say Avril Lavigne had never met her before. It was pure chance that they'd found someone who looks like her. And so what they did was they hired Melissa Vandella to do the low level stuff, to
Mm.
be Avril Lavigne and to take some of that pressure off Avril. And then in 2003, just a little after this kind of scenario was put in place, Avril very tragically dies.
Okay. Do we have any details on what people think?
She died of?
No.
No, we
Okay.
have no details. But so she's put out one absolute storm of an album and then died. And so her record label think, oh gosh, what do we do now? She was set to be our best moneymaker. What are we supposed to do? We need to keep this Avril train going. Well, oh, thank goodness, we've still got in our midst Melissa Vandella.
Oh, yeah.
And so here's the big theory. Avril Lavigne has been dead for over 20 years, and every time we've seen Avril Lavigne since, it hasn't actually been Avril Lavigne. It has been this body double, Melissa Vandella. And people think that her face has changed. So people, there's so many, honestly, Google it. This actually has its
Sorry.
own Wikipedia
People
page.
people think a celebrity's face changed over the course of 20 years.
Yes, that, but also overnight, apparently,
Oh, right.
in
Okay. Sorry. Not just
2003.
like through the course of aging.
No, but this is
Okay.
also a thing. I think Avril herself has come out and said, I was 17 back then. I'm in my 40s now. Of course, I don't look like 17-year-old me.
And again, like, I remember when Renee Zellweger popped up after
Yeah.
having tweakments and various surgeries, and everyone was like, oh my gosh, she doesn't even look like the same person. Like, but celebrities in particular, they don't age in a sort of linear way that you'd expect because
Mm,
sometimes they make changes in order
yeah.
to maintain.
Indeed. Yeah. So, but nevertheless, people will put photos of Avril then and now on and say, oh my gosh, look how much her face has changed. But also, apparently, her persona changed. Gone were like the low baggy jeans and ties. And she came back in a lot of pink, little like schoolgirl mini skirts, things like that. Also, apparently, her speaking voice changed quite dramatically in 2003. And here's the big one, her handwriting completely changed. And people cannot get over this one fact.
Do we
Like,
have samples?
there are samples out there. I'll put them in the show notes, honestly.
Yeah,
Just
I think we're
feast
going
on
to need to
this.
see them.
Oh, and there's this one more detail is that a few years later, Avril, and this is where she's a bit like Pastor Joyce, right? Just Avril, why did you do this? Because again, she's had to spend 20 years saying, I am me. I am Avril Lavigne. I'm alive. I'm who I say I am. But one time she performed with the name Melissa written on her hand, and people all thought that was a cry for help from Melissa Vandella.
Is she like being held or something?
Well, this is what people think, that she's been held against her will and forced to pretend to be Avril Lavigne.
What record label is this that they
I
believe have got,
know.
have got people in the basement ready
I
to
know.
wheel out? Have we heard Melissa sing any Avril Lavigne songs? Would
Yeah,
that?
for the past 20 years.
Oh, fine. And she's just like good enough that
Yeah,
she's passing in terms of the music.
apparently so. I mean, I saw who I thought was Avril. Here's the thing, right? As I was looking this up, there was one headline that simply said, Avril Lavigne is back, if you believe that. Oh, it's so good. So last year, I actually saw who I thought was Avril, but could maybe be Melissa
Where? At
Vandella live.
Glastonbury?
Yeah, but I wasn't going to bring it up. I
I
wasn't going to say the
knew
G
you were being
word.
shady. And I knew you wouldn't have bought tickets to see Avril Lavigne. It had to be at a festival. Speaking of Glastonbury, yes, I
Uh,
was waiting in the queue twice this week. No, I don't. You've got tickets, haven't you? Have you got tickets?
yeah.
I
Oh, I'm sorry.
honestly, if we weren't recording a podcast, I would swear. I was honestly, I just had the two bars of doom. That was it. I never got past two bars
So
on
did
the
I.
on the waiting thing. But one of your friends got them, did they? Okay, good for you.
Yeah,
Anyway,
sorry.
Avril Lavigne, dead or alive? That's the question.
We could come up with a conspiracy theory around Glasgow tickets, actually.
Yeah, I think they hate me. Okay, I think that
Go
the
on.
the outfit thing is just not relevant because I didn't wear ties at that time, but I
Mm,
wore the tank tops. I wore the criminal damage jeans that were
yeah,
like really wide. I wore
yeah.
buffalo shoes with the massive tongues. I wore the heavy eyeliner. I wore the beaded jewelry, right? But then if you gave me three, if you that was me sort of up until 15. If you then saw me again at 18 when I was
Mm,
like going out at uni, I would have been in like new look bandeau dresses, hoop earrings, like totally different. But that's just being a kid, and the trends changed, and the type of
yep.
boys I fancied changed, and everything changed. So I think that's okay.
Yeah, okay. So the clothes aren't getting you,
No. Also, I've just Googled the handwriting and it just looks the same, but just like an older person who's less fussed about like
making it all nice and
making it
curvy.
look cute. Yeah, she's just not
Yeah.
making it cute anymore. I mean, I'm no handwriting expert, but I would believe that's the same person, I think. I think that the Avril Lavigne, who everyone says is Melissa, is just Avril Lavigne.
I do too. I did really enjoy because this is huge on TikTok now.
Yeah.
Huge. And I really enjoyed falling down the rabbit hole. But unlike you and Pastor Joyce, I don't think this one has legs.
Not even one little leg.
Maybe one little leg, and that's it. I
Mm.
think, yeah, sometimes, and there are, maybe like the voice is much higher now and it was really low. But again, what I think is that she was trying to be really cool as a young
Yeah.
girl and she was like, oh, hi, I'm Avril. She's
Totally.
just not doing
The
that anymore.
absolute opposite of that is Paris Hilton. Like,
Yeah.
oh, thank you. That's so cute. Oh my gosh, will you be my BFF? And then if you speak to her normally, if you hear her speaking normally, she's like, yeah, I've got a book coming out. Like obviously an American, like I've got a book coming out, blah, blah, blah. And she just speaks
Mm.
normally. People adopt these personas and having a sort of deep, cool girl voice, that's legit, I think.
Yeah.
That's
She
just
was
the way Avril would do it.
part of Avril Lavigne. I just think this is hilarious. And she herself speaks about this every now and again. And she's a bit like, yeah, it's annoying. But she's like, as far as conspiracy theories go, this is an okay one to have. It's not creepy or
She says
disturbing.
that.
Yeah, she has actually said that on the Call Her Daddy podcast. She recently said, do you know what? It could have been worse. It
Yeah.
could, there could be worse theories out there about me. And
Yeah,
that's true.
that's true.
There could
I
be.
just like through time immemorial, we have speculated. I say that, I don't know, probably started with Elvis, but that people are either not dead when we think they're dead or that they're dead when we think they're not dead. Like I remember when I first started at a tabloid newspaper, I said like, oh, what's the article that's got the most clicks? And this has totally changed since then. But this was
Mm.
in the very early days of stories going up on the internet. This was when we just started writing stories specifically for the internet rather than just copying and pasting from the newspaper each day
Okay.
and
Yeah.
putting it online. And by a mile, the most popular article was one where we reported that Tupac had been spotted in Barbados with Rihanna.
Always with Rihanna.
He was
Rihanna's
hanging out
always
with
involved
Rihanna.
somehow.
Yeah, she's
Yeah,
sneaky.
I like that. Again, producer Chris sent through a Reddit thread that was about Michael Jackson
Oh,
not being
Michael
dead.
Jackson.
And I noticed
Yeah.
that one of the little pieces of proof that someone had put on was that he was spotted behind the camera filming his own tribute concert.
Okay. That
How
is
good is that?
that is
Oh,
so bold. You want everyone to think you're dead, but you show up to your own tribute concert.
to
That
film
is
it, to direct it, to be behind the camera.
the
Oh gosh.
energy on that is absolutely unbelievable.
Do you know
If
what, Lauren?
he is
The
alive, I
energy
hope he
on
did
that.
that.
Well, that's the thing. The energy on that is pure Michael Jackson.
Yeah,
He's the
yeah,
only person where I'd
yeah.
even consider that
That
being
he, you know
true.
what? I think Elton John would do that.
Yeah,
If Elton
maybe.
John was faking his death,
Yeah.
he would show up to his own tribute thing just to make sure it's done
Oh,
properly. But
it's
yeah,
so
it's
good.
it's a very, very small list of people who I think that is feasible for. So yeah, there we go.
I just think this episode has been a joy and so weirdly eclectic because we have
Mm,
gone from the very, very serious to the absolute joy-filled. I'm back
mm,
again.
mhm.
And that's
You've got to
just
dive into the ridiculous every now and again.
you really do. And I think, like I say, conspiracy theories, I'm sure there's real psychological reasons why they snowball as they do. But it's been a joy just dipping my toe in the conspiracy
Oh,
world.
I've loved it. Absolutely loved it.
Loved it.
Thanks for the journey, Belle.
Oh, thank you. And thanks to producer Chris for sending us on such a journey, a voyage through the ridiculous. I've thoroughly enjoyed it.